Hello everyone. Let's proceed with chapter 2, Basics of PSIR. The name of chapter is Global Politics and the book is Andrew Heywood. And the next topic is Lenses on Global Politics. So the first question that comes into mind is how the global politics is being seen and read and observed. Let's first proceed on to the traditional perspectives. So two traditional perspectives on global politics, such as realism and liberalism, both of them shape the perspective for a long time, uh, beginning with the Treaty of Westphalia, Peace of Westphalia, and it continued up to, in a major form up to the Second World War. So both realism and liberalism, let's see what they are. So they can be viewed as mainstream perspective in the sense that in their previous incarnations they have dominated conventional academic approach within the discipline of international relations for a long time, from the middle of 17th century to the second half of 20th century. And they are also traditional in the sense the sense of the traditional theory that has been attributed to it, which was given by Max Horkheimer. Then let's see what is common between both the theories. So in the first place, both of them in their contemporary forms, they are grounded in positivism. So this suggests that it is possible to develop objective knowledge through the capacity of distinguish facts from values. So in the first common ground is that both the theory they deal with the real world, and it is possible to compare both the theories and to find the analogous events from the real world itself. So it's not that both of them they are replicated in an extra abstract realm, a realm that is surrounded and spread in the metaphysical or the philosophical world only. Both of these theories they are grounded in the sense that we can observe the event, we can actually proceed from the postulates of the theory to the events that led to its creations. Then both of the theories they are known as problem solving theory. Yes, that is the gist of the explanation that was given by me. They are grounded in the sense that they talk about the real events, real world events, and they talk about how to solve them. So the problem solving attitude is there. And the second common ground is realist and liberalist. Both theory they uh, deal with the similar issues. So the core concern of both the theories of realism and liberalism, is the balance between conflict and cooperation in state relations. So the second ground, it the is the question of balance of power, both in realist and liberalist sense. Balance of power. Minor difference is there that realists they place greater emphasis on conflict, while the liberalists they look for scope of cooperation. Then let's talk about Thomas Hobbes. So Hobbes he theorized that human nature and its social and political implication with his great work Leviathan, which was published in 1651. So he also bought some ideas from his philosopher mentor, which is who was Rene Descartes. So sorry, it's his pronunciation. He is French, so this will be pronounced as Rene Descartes. So his mentor, the theory that was the idea that was bought from his mentor Rene Descartes, is that human beings are fundamentally wired to avoid pain and seek out pleasure. And this is the incentive, this is the motivation that nudge people to accumulate power. So, according to Hobbes, human nature is wired around or built upon the desire to accumulate power, to gain power. And for this reason, the sovereign power of state and government, they are required to protect us from ourselves and one another. This was the basic idea that was given by him in his book Leviathan. Then reflect back on the topic we started. How do realists see global politics? So, what is the lens of realists as vis-a-vis global politics? So, the realist idea, they have been traced from thinkers such as Thucydides, Sun Tzu, Machiavelli, and Thomas Hobbes. So, this reason is pessimistic, and the idea is it revolves around the constant struggle for power. And because of constant struggle, there is constant conflict, and it's grounded, its realism has grounded its emphasis on power politics. And the assumptions are the human nature, it is characterized by selfishness and greed. Politics is a domain of human activity, which is structured by power and coercion. So, um, most of the human, according to realists, most of the human activities, they are to grab power. Then the states are the key global actors, and they pursue self-interest and survival, which prioritize security above every other matter. Then state operate in a context of anarchy, which is why self-help in the international arena is needed. Then global power or global order, it is structured by distribution of power or the balance of power. Then the balance of the power is the means to ensure that the international arena, it is stabilized and war can be avoided. Then ethical consideration, they are irrelevant to the conduct of foreign policy, which means even if you assume that it is unethical to start a war, but sometimes for survival you may need to resort to such actions, or even if you draw on your idea from non-violence or non-initiator, but some other actor, um, they may resort to such violent tactics, and in that case you need to respond to them. So here ethical consideration uh, above a certain level are definitely irrelevant to the conduct of foreign policy. And then, how do liberals see global politics? So liberalism, it is more optimistic about the global politics, and its belief, it is based on human belief on the rationality and moral goodness. They consider people to rational and morally good, and they tend to believe that principle of balance or harmony, it operates in all form of social interaction. And as far as world politics is concerned, so this is reflected in commitment to internationalism, which is reflected in Immanuel Kant's belief in universal and perpetual peace. So basic assumption of liberalism are that human beings are rational and moral creatures. History is a progressive process, uh, which means the prospects of peace, or prospects of cooperation, of a just world, of a accommodative and peaceful world, they they are progressive in nature. So you are likely that some of a few events may not tell the real story, may not speak in your favor, but ultimately, with every passing day, people are realizing that cooperation is necessary, there is optimism, and people, whoever, whichever country one belongs to, whichever nation or culture one belongs to, in the end, everyone seeks that they they eat the fruit of their labor. They want to sleep and rise in peace. So it's a a progressive realm. Then mixed order models of global politics are more realistic than state-centric one, which is the core model of realist school. Whereas liberalist model, it believes that the world, global politics, it is run by not one particular state, but a multitude of actors, such as the TNCs, transnational cooperation corporations, then all the other addendums of globalization, such as non-governmental organization, pressure groups, corporate lobbies, indigenous movement, civic partnership. So, all in all, the liberalist world is not just run by the the realist agenda. They believe in that the world is run by mixed actors, multitude of actors, and the complex interaction of them, the interdependence, it balances the world. And they believe that trade and economic interdependence, it will make war less likely. Then international law, it is believed by them, is to promote the order and foster behavior among states. Then they also believe in the peaceful nature of democracy, which according to them is inherently peaceful, particularly in reducing the likelihood of war between democratic states. Then let's have a look at the life of Immanuel Kant. So his critical philosophy, it holds that knowledge is not merely an aggregate of sense impression. It depends on a priori conceptual apparatus of human understanding, which precedes our experience. So this may seem to be a complex sentence, but it means that any knowledge, it will be preceded by an event. So this is how you are going to trace the observation, the interpretation of that particular event. And the more people or many number of people experience the same event in their own way, so those plethora of or those group of interpretations, they will provide a solid basis of a knowledge. Let's say you say you have seen a leopard in your backyard. So first thing, if you have seen this, so the event it has occurred, leopard has been seen or leopard has moved around in your backyard, then you got knowledge that leopard exists in your surrounding. This is your observation, your experience. This was the event. And now, if many of your neighbors, if they have seen this particular object or animal roaming around in the street or the backyards, so the same event it will be shared by both all the person who have seen him or observed him, watched him. So then they might have different interpretations. You might have thought in, you might have observed this particular event in a different way, thinking that since you live in a particular geography where leopards are not common, and since you have seen one roaming and jumping in your backyard, so it means something. You may come up with a different interpretation, and same way your neighbor and whoever else watch the same event, they may have their own interpretation. And when all such interpretations are clubbed and solidified, at first it becomes evidential. It is a proof that leopard or leopard looking animal has really moved around. Then, second thing, multiple observation and multiple interpretation they may come up with the actual image of the animal or the actual status of the animal which has been seen. So it might that you have mistaken some new kind of animal or some you can say some other wild animal to be leopard. It may be that it is some hyena, but because of camouflaging behavior and maybe for other reasons, you mistook it for a leopard. But then the multiple interpretation they will give you the actual idea. So that was what has been said by Immanuel Kant in this paragraph. And it does also mean another thing is that knowledge of anything, it is not just an aggregate of sense impression, or it's just not sensual impression. The creation of knowledge or the gaining of knowledge, it depends on a priori concept of conceptual apparatus of human understanding. So this conceptual apparatus that has been seen here, it is similar to that when you have observed the event, a leopard moving in your backyard. So the conceptual apparatus that has been talked about here is that you know that animals are wild in nature and they can move around, they can arrive at your doorstep. So it is possible and you have the conceptual idea about it. And you also know that the leopard, they are four-legged animals, so they will be resembling in that position on four legs. But same thing, if somebody says that methane gas, it takes a particular magenta hue on first moon. So now this knowledge, it needs a conceptual apparatus because you might have seen many different kind of hues on when you watch, when you look at the sky, when you look at your surrounding during the first moon, or during any moony night, because moon is always there. It's only that its size, it keep fluctuating. So let's just say that it is usual for you, the conceptual apparatus, which is that whenever you look at moon, you know it will be there. If the sky it is cloudless, then you also know that there are different colors. There can be different colors, different hues, and the vividity of colors is always there in the nature, in the atmosphere, in the environment. And it may happen that you can see such hues on any night, whether it is first moon or the full moon. But then this particular knowledge that CH4 methane, it is observed taking a magenta form or with a magenta color on first moon night. Now this conceptual apparatus is not there. You have not believed it to be so. You believe that leopard will move on his four legs. What if you leopards, they take human form at the night? And you know this is not possible and this conceptual apparatus is not there. In the same way, you don't know which gas is showing which color. So this this basis of thinking, the conceptual apparatus, it is same as that you have experience about it and you have some idea about it that this situation is going to happen this way. Otherwise, a lot of things happens around you. It may be that the room you are sitting in, there are many kinds of particles, and 100 years from now, or children, they are going to recognize which particle is which just by the reflection of light or scattering or Tyndall effect. We don't know what is the future going to unfold. But right, in our present circumstance, we know that air, it is colorless. So whatever we see around us, all we call it is that it is air. We don't know which gas is reflecting in which form. So the conceptual apparatus here is not there, even if it exists in present. So his idea was timeless, that according to time, the conceptual apparatus, it will keep changing. So the human understanding, it will also change, and the experiences will also change. And those experiences with a common conceptual apparatus will give multiple interpretations, and those interpretations, they will be rationalized, they will be given, they will be um, put to put to the test. Whatever comes, whatever arises out of that will be a forever knowledge. And his political thoughts, they were shaped by central importance of morality and associated with enlightenment. And that said, despite his argument for the cosmopolitanism, which is global citizenship, he is also viewed as a variety of scientific races. For he he sought to establish the cultural superiority of white Europeans over Asians and Africans. So here you can see the conceptual apparatus here, the work of conceptual apparatus here, that the time in which he lived, it was common. It was a common conceptual apparatus to believe in the idea that white is the superior race and the rest of the black and mixed races, they are of inferior quality. And he could not have gotten himself out of that idea, because he was also living in a time, he was also living in a common conceptual apparatus. Then let's have a critical perspective. So the Marxist approach stood out from the rest because its emphasis was not on conflict and cooperation, but structure on economic power and the role played in the world affairs by international capital. So the Marxist, it stood out from the realist, from the feminist, from the liberal school, because the dimension of conflict and cooperation, the dimension of seeing the world in form of state is glaringly absent from Marxist idea. All they see is the motion of capital, the movement of capital, and then the ills associated with it. So then it brought international political economy into focus. However, by the Cold War, a wide range of new voices, they started to influence the study of world politics, including the social constructivism, critical theory, post-structuralism, post-colonialism, feminism, and green politics. So, along with the realist, liberalist, and then the Marxist, by the end of Cold War, so by the end of 1990s, all such new voices, all such new schools of thought came into picture. And the only thing that unite all these new voices is sheer antipathy towards traditional thinking. But then two similarities, they can be identified. The first one is that all these voices in different way and different degrees, they have tried to go beyond the positivism of traditional theory, emphasizing instead the role of consciousness in shaping social conduct. So all the new voices, they same way, if we recall Immanuel Kant's the conceptual apparatus. So the with every generation, the idea, the the common framework, it progresses. It's like time. It never goes back. So it's like we are learning because we are standing on the giants of, shoulders of giants, and it has also a new adjective which is uh, which is the word new normal. So every generation creates a new normal. So that's why you can see in the earlier centuries, so people, they only talk about natural and human rights. But now you can see when almost all of us, they have been given universal adult franchisee, we are giving basic rights, um, basic elementary responsibilities, then the situation, it has changed, it has progressed. Now we are seeking newer rights, we are seeking more rights. It's like we have upgraded it. So this upgradation, it keeps going on, and then that's why from earlier the conventional two school, we have progressed to these many schools, and now the focus, it has shifted away from conflict and cooperation, or the the ills of capitalism, and the focus, it has entered into the realm of consciousness. So now it's what we as a society, we human as a society in together and one mind, the thoughts that emerge, the new normal that we are creating, it is based on the consciousness. It is based on how we are going through that thing and how we are upgrading what we have learned from the ancestors. So it's like every generation is creating a new template upon which the future generation, they paint their own canvas. Then the second similarity is that they oppose the dominant forces and interests in modern world affairs. So concept of global status quo, it is being challenged by them, and this challenge, it is done in the name of marginalized or oppressed group. So that's why they are finding new templates, they are finding new niches, newer kind of rights that should be given, newer opportunities, newer basic elements. So this upgradation, it is going on, and now the all the new schools, they are giving the power back to the people. So it, according to them, state or any actor, political actors, militaries, leaders, and groups, oligarchies, powerful people, or rich and capital rich people, so they are not holding the reins of the world, the pulse of the world. It should be given back to the people. So that's why they are also concerning about the rights and well-being of marginalized and oppressed people. However, inequality and asymmetrics to which critical theorists have drawn attention, which are post-colonial thinkers, they highlighted the historical centrality of colonialism in producing the present world order. So according to them, the present world order post Second World War, it is uh, it is based on the template. It is of colonialism, because many nations all around the world, they have they have been put under a colonial yoke. They have been cornered by, they have been subjugated by European colonialists. So the present order anywhere, it is intellectually, physically, spiritually, it is a colonial construct. And the way in which its intellectual legacies, including racism as a system of both structural inequality and belief, it continues to shape the world politics today. This is the idea of post-colonial thinkers. Then feminists, they have said time and again that it is the perversion of gender idea, or the structure of gender inequality that characterize global and all form of politics. And they have opposed realists, especially because the realist idea, the emphasis on war and conflict, it is based on the masculine idea of rivalry, of competition or conflict, because it is the realist who, even though talking in practical terms, they hail war, um, they eulogize, or you can say in other terms, they worship war, that it is necessary condition. And instead of looking for other idea, even though war can be necessary, even though violence can be necessary in the end, as a matter of last resort, but still they are not trying to find any way, any common ground, so that the tension it can be fused out. And this is because of the masculine idea that war needs to be fought in order to protect their interest. Then Marxists who who highlighted inequality in the global capitalist system because of capitalism, and through which the developed countries, especially European countries and America, they are operating through transnational corporations, which is linked to the hegemonic power, United States. And it is also a Marxist thought that globalization and the outsourcing and the work of TNCs, it is a newer form of imperialism in which such economies, the economies of developed countries, they are trying to gain a foothold in other nations, and they're trying to find loopholes so that they can project their hegemonic power once the opportunities are provided. Then post-structuralism, it emphasized that all ideas and concepts, they are expressed in language that it is enmeshed in complex relations of power, which here post-structuralism, it is not that difficult, but it has been presented, it has been explained in quite a complex language, because they have themselves believe that the world is a complex of knowledge and power. So their idea is world it is run by two things, knowledge and power. So whoever has the knowledge has more power. It's just like upgradation, and sometimes may take in the form of trade power, financial power, even military power, such as if India has developed ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile, which can fire up to 10,000 kilometers. So it is a new technology, and gaining access to any ICBM which can fire nuclear power weapons to up to in the range of 10,000 kilometer, it will be a big weapon in the arsenal of military security. But then the actual access, the actual production that should be done at the indigenous level, it is a tough thing. So to get the knowledge, to get the wherewithal to build such a weapon, it needs knowledge, which can be done via two ways. First, you develop that capital, the human capital, by investing in resources, by projecting your attention, by giving time to it, or you may buy it. So both of these things, they need tremendous financial resources other than time and patience. So those financial resources, they can be given to it, but the ultimate production of such a knowledge, it it is a powerful upgradation, a powerful um, what you can say, a powerful template, or powerful footstep in terms of international relationship. So this is the gist of post-structuralism. Then comes constructivist, and it is a mix of spiritualism, metaphysical thoughts, and real-world political philosophy. But the idea is that the world it operates in intersubjective awareness, by which it means the world we see it has been constructed by the people. And yes, so whatever you see, the changes, the the movements, political movements, the rising voices, the push for getting more rights, the push for getting more power, to balance power, to build weapons, to build industries, all such things, they they have been done, they have been constructed, because construction is a thing that brings something into a form, brings something into a concrete form. So here, the, the buildings, such as the buildings of Security and Exchange Board of India, RBI, the new Parliament, the infrastructure, industrial houses, infrastructure, or you can say a special economic zone. So any such thing, from creating small pin to large AI-based ideas, all of these are, they have been brought into life. They have been given a shape, and this construction, it is because of this intersubjective awareness between people. So the world, whatever we see, whether it is good or bad, whether it is terrorism laden, violent, merciless, or any kind of, or of any color, whichever way you see it, in positive or negative, this world, it has been constructed by us. It has been constructed by the thoughts that go around in our own mind. Then a range of new critical approaches that have also emerged in early 21st centuries, that draws the insight from green or ecological theory, sociological theory, and all of them, they can be known as the creation or thoughts of Anthropocene. Anthropocene, it means the age of humans. Now let's see the approaches, various political approaches on the occurrence of the proceedings of COVID-19 pandemic. So realists, which are state-centric thinkers, they are skeptical about globalization and about the notion that globalization, it reduces the power and significance of state. And you might have heard about Thucydides, his book, The History of Peloponnesian War, which described the effect of lethal plague on international relations of Athens with the neighboring state. In the same way that Stephen Ward, he believes that states are still the main actors in the global politics, and the global events such as pandemic, it will likely contribute in the long term to the decline of trends of globalization. So realists, they believe that if such mishaps happens which affect global population, such mishappenings, they will certainly make the world step down from the horse of globalization. Or they believe that if such mishappenings keep occurring, so globalization will lose its touch. It will fade away. And let's have a look at liberalist view. The liberalism, which embraces globalization as real and necessary, they also frustrated by state response to global coronavirus pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. And for liberals, institutions such as World Health Organization, it is central to liberal world order. Then such organization, liberalists, don't just believe that the World Health Organization (WHO) is the only authority to establish a liberal world order. By the sentence, it means that liberalists believe that organizations which are there to handle with respective crises, such as the WHO has been given the responsibility to deal with global pandemics, then such organization should be given a say when it's their jurisdiction or when it's their task to act. Many such organizations are there that are working on specific tasks. So specific organizations are there and they need to be given a free hand during the times of crisis. This is what has been observed by the liberalist view, and that's why they were so frustrated with the straight responses, because the simple health crisis, a health situation which should have been done or dealt ethically, because WHO, World Health Organization, it has been tasked to deal with such medical health issues. But the COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen instances when the health issue it was politicized and used as such. Then they also believe that more open, democratic, and global cooperation it is only mean to solve collective action problems such as those of pandemic, global warming, climate action, terrorism. Then let's have a look at the post-colonial view. So from a post-colonial perspective, global pandemic, it threw into sharper relief the structural inequalities that globalization failed to resolve, or it might have exacerbated them. So the post-colonial view, it is hinks in balance, and it observes both the events in similar light. That the pandemic, it might have made the issue better, or it might have made it worse. So, like the global financial crisis that struck 13 years earlier, societies that were positioned to be highly vulnerable were those with weaker economics and infrastructure. So, those economies they were uh, located in global south, and those were the countries of global south. They were once subjected to European colonialism. So a major cause of their relative economic and infrastructure problem, it can be traced to colonialism. And as it transpired, powerful global north countries with major economics, they also suffered greatly. With Italy, United States, UK, they were being among those that have suffered many casualties. So the post-colonial view on pandemic, it is quite balanced. So it means that the financial crisis it might have hit the countries of global south that reeled under colonialism, but then the pandemic it proved to be a great equalizer, because it was now not the similar case, and both the countries, the weaker and the powerful, the global south and global north, the rich and the poorer, all societies they suffered a similar fate. Then let's have a look at Marxist view. So, according to Marxist, pandemic is another crisis of capitalism, which starkly highlights the structural violence done in the name of capitalist globalization. And American Marxist historian Mike Davis, he published a book for 15 years prior to global pandemic, and this book it warned that global pharmaceutical corporations they neglect vaccine research as unprofitable, and at the same time the rise of factory farming and mega slums They provide fertile condition for new globe-wide play. So yeah, this idea is some true up to certain limits, which is the vaccine research or the development of vaccine. It is and an unprofitable business unless it has a profit motive. So this profit motive, it can manifest in two forms. First one is that any pharmaceutical corporation, any pharma company, it can undertake any research project not out of benevolence, not out of public welfare, but from the profit motive. So it will happen only when development of such vaccine and the expenses on the research, it is going to compensate and even provide good returns, and that will happen only if it is a man-made pandemic. First thing, that if you want to sell something, create its demand. So it might have been the case that demand itself has been created by some of those hyper capitalist actors, and but this is this allegation, it is may become controversial, and such allegation, it needs strong evidence. But yeah, if profit motives are there, such conspiracy theories can be constructed in human mind. And then the another, it will be that um, the corporates, they might have seen profit in the development of a vaccine if such prior knowledge was available to them that particular strain or particular kind of disease is going to emerge, or they have a prior knowledge of plague, and they might not have stopped it, they might not have played any role in its exacerbation or its propagation, but they might have played with the whole idea. It might be that they did not have the prior idea, but then their actions, it might have provided fertile condition for growth of such bacterial strain or growth of such lethal diseases. So whatever it is, it was their profit motive alone, which according to Marxists, it is degrading, endangering, and extinguishing human life in pursuit of profit. So Davis also suggested that this new age of plague, like previous pandemic epoch, is directly result of economic globalization. Then let's see constructivist and post-structuralist views. So the dominant symbolic order of global politics has tended to prioritize military form of security as the ultimate concern of the world actors. Then uh, Dan Stephen and Nick Vaughan Williams, they noted that the UK's national security strategy, it had listed pandemic as a key threat since at least 2010, but it perception, it was not shared by the public, and nothing was done to upgrade on this particular ground. So according to them, they they may be ready to deal on war on terror, or their securitization, it may deal with war, the external threat, but they are not competent and they are not ready to deal with such invisible enemy, and that they are not giving it a proper thought. Then feminist view, they they saw the pandemic through a human security lens, and they pointed out that patriarchal violence, including domestic abuse, is quantifiably a much greater security threat to women than by terrorism. And according to feminists, the pandemic it has intensified such violence with a global surge in reports of domestic abuse of women and girls in lockdown. And this was also true to certain extent that the because of lockdown that were placed to stop the spread of virus. These those close conditions, those close proximities, it it heightened many instances of domestic abuse, the relationship of the staying together issues between families in couples, and it was also that the transgender people they were also subjected to harassment. So, so in countries such as Kenya, United States, transgender people suffered in hormone treatment and gender reassignment surgeries because because of what feminists see in the patriarchal norm or the heterosexual norm. Gender people, transgender people, they are not seen as equal. So their life it will not be look on the equal footing, and that's why the hormone treatment and gender reassignment surgery which are necessary to transgender people they were deprioritized in favor of pandemic related healthcare. So from a feminist perspective, this reprioritization is a result of patriarchy and prevailing heteronormative values according to which women, girls and LGBTQ this community they accorded less significance than cishet, which is cisgendered men. Then let's have a look at continuity and change in global politics. So while global politics is a ever-shifting field, it is also characterized by certain key continuities. Then these continuities or these themes which still remain relevant is world order. It persists as a fundamental goal or principle of global politics or global political activity. So the ideas of world order, it continues to shape much of theories and practice of global politics and international relations. Then when we talk about world order, the concept of security and insecurity, it also looms large in debates on international relations. Then the issues such as human rights, justices, social justices, rights, equality, inequality, they also take a take the similar stand. And above all, power, the essence of power, the essence which is the essence of politics, uh, is still have a stake in discussion of global politics. Then this is it, and let's have a look at the attack, the 9/11 September 11 attack on twin towers of World Trade Organization that was perpetuated by alleged terrorist organization Al Qaeda, whose leader was Osama bin Laden. So on this day, four passenger airliners they were hijacked, and two airliners they crashed into twin towers of World Trade Center in New York. The third airliner it crashed into Pentagon, which is the headquarters of U.S. Department of Defense in Virginia, and the fourth airliner it crashed into field in Pennsylvania. Then the significance of this attack that it is sometimes described as the day the world changed, and and the consequence of which the unfolding of war of terror and the invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq. Then globalization, it also has appeared to usher in new security threat in form of violent terrorist attack. And it is also believed that if the world's greatest power could be dealt such a devastating blow to its largest city and its national capital and its defense headquarters, what chance did other states have? And the attack, it was carried in the name of a religiously inspired ideology and a revenge for US foreign policy outside West, which was perceived as a threat to the Middle East order. Then, rather than making a beginning of a new era in global security, 9/11 may have indicated more business as normal. In particular, the advent of globalized world, it appeared to underline the vital importance of national security than global security. Then the emergence of national security and especially the transnational terrorism, it also re-emphasized the core role of state. So it has once again brought the realist view of international polity into focus. And according to them, state is necessary, and even if the world is globalized, the threat to national security, it looms large all the time. Then the United States, it responded to 9/11 by undertaking a substantial buildup of state power, both at home through strengthened homeland security and abroad through increased military spending in Afghanistan and Iraq. So here the core lesson is that even though many political theory uh, they kept knocking down the earliest belief on conflict and power, the central role of state, but the core place of state and its power and the idea of conflict and war and security, it still forms a major part of global political debate. So even though many newer forms of perspective and newer thoughts emerge in the international relations debate, yet the core idea about internal security or national security, it still it still is intact in its place. Thank you very much, and kindly subscribe the channel.